Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some ancient, yet incredibly relevant prophecies from the book of Micah, specifically chapters 4 and 5. These texts were written over 2,700 years ago, but they pack a punch that still resonates today. We're talking about divine judgment, a totally radical vision for global restoration, and a ruler whose arrival literally changes the entire course of human history. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. First, we'll look at Micah's warning to Judah. Second, the latter days of peace. Third, a ruler from Bethlehem. Fourth, the remnant of Jacob. And finally, removing false securities. We'll decode this whole thing step by step. So Section 1, Micah's warning to Judah, corruption and collapse. Let's establish our historical baseline in the ancient kingdom of Judah.
To really grasp biblical prophecy, we've got to see how it leaps from immediate historical threats right over to distant future promises. Micah's ministry spanned roughly 750 to 680 BC. He was warning of a massive destruction which actually came to pass in 586 BC when Babylon, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, completely destroyed Jerusalem. But Micah's vision didn't just stop in the rubble, right? He looked about 700 years into the future to the exact birth of the Messiah, and then way beyond that, to an ultimate era called the latter days.
So, what caused this totally devastating judgment in 586 BC? Well, it was a mix of widespread injustice, massive corruption in both government and worship, and just exceptionally wicked leadership. But honestly, the most dangerous part? The people had this completely false sense of security in the physical temple. They literally thought, hey, God's great temple is here in Jerusalem, so we're untouchable, totally ignoring their own profound moral decay. But Micah made it crystal clear. Even the great city of God wouldn't be spared if the people completely refused to turn away from their sin.
Moving on to Section 2, the latter days of peace, a global restoration.
Now this brings us to one of the absolute most iconic images in all of prophetic literature. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Wow, that captures humanity's deepest, most fundamental desire, doesn't it? An ultimate lasting peace where nations don't lift up swords against each other and they don't even prepare for war anymore. Just imagine a world where all those vast resources we pour into human conflict are totally repurposed for agriculture, growth, and just human flourishing.
But when exactly is all this supposed to happen? Well, the text anchors it to a very specific prophetic timeline, the latter days. This is defined as the future Messianic kingdom when God establishes his righteous rule and universal peace over the entire earth. And Micah makes something incredibly clear here. We've always wanted peace, but lasting, global peace, it's not going to happen just through human effort. It absolutely requires the return of the Messiah to establish it.
And what's amazing is that this promised peace isn't just some high-level geopolitical thing. It's deeply, beautifully personal. The prophecy says, everyone shall sit under his vine and his fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. I absolutely love this imagery. It paints this perfect picture of ultimate personal security, prosperity, and total freedom from fear and violence. And the guarantee for all of this? The text says, "For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken." It's guaranteed by the Lord himself, which means, for sure, it cannot fail.
Which brings us to Section 3, a ruler from Bethlehem, the Prince of Peace. Okay, I really want you to let this number sink in. 700. Our source text points out the absolutely astonishing fact that Micah predicted the exact birthplace of the Messiah roughly 700 years before Jesus Christ was even born. Think about that. This isn't just some vague, generalized prediction. It's a pinpoint geographical coordinate on the map of human history, delivered centuries in advance.
Now, what's really interesting here is that specific coordinate, Bethlehem Ephrathah. Look at the striking contrast. Bethlehem was a tiny, seemingly insignificant town. It was literally little among the thousands of Judah. Yet God chose it to be the exact birthplace of the eternal ruler of Israel. And the text makes a point to note that while he'd be born as a man in this tiny town, his origins are from everlasting, showing us perfectly that he is both fully human and fully God. So what kind of ruler is he going to be? Well, the text tells us, "He shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, and this one shall be peace." He's the ultimate shepherd. When he comes, he'll protect his people, shepherd them with absolute divine strength, and totally defeat all hostile, rebellious powers. And notice this, he doesn't just bring peace. As the text explicitly states, he is our peace.
All right, Section 4, the remnant of Jacob, empowered and unconquerable.
This part brilliantly illustrates the dual nature of God's people, the remnant, in these latter days. It's kind of like a two-sided coin. On one hand, they act like dew from the Lord, a refreshing, life-giving spiritual blessing to the nations. But on the other hand, they are like a powerful lion among sheep, powerful, unconquerable, and completely triumphant over their adversaries. So this restored remnant won't be weak or vulnerable. Under God's protection, they perfectly balance being a divine blessing with having a fierce, divinely protected strength.
To really drive this strength home, Micah uses this super striking agricultural metaphor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron and your hooves bronze. It's like hostile nations might gang up on Jerusalem, thinking they're going to defile and destroy it, but they've completely misunderstood God's sovereign plan. God is actually just gathering those hostile nations together like sheaves of grain on a threshing floor. Why? To empower Zion to thresh them in an ultimate sweeping victory.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 5, removing false securities, stripping away idols.
In order to bring this true peace, God promises to systematically cut off all of our false securities. We're talking horses and chariots, which represent physical military might, strongholds and city defenses, the walls we build to protect ourselves, sorcery and fortune tellers, representing the occult and our useless desire to control the future, and finally, carved images and sacred pillars, outright idolatry. God is going to systematically remove every single false crutch that humanity leans on instead of Him.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. True security is found only in the Prince of Peace, not in our military might, human defenses, or man-made idols. And it beautifully connects the removal of these ancient idols to our modern assurance as believers. Because Jesus Christ bore God's judgment for sin on the cross, anyone who trusts in Him is completely forgiven. We have true peace with God, total freedom from condemnation, and the absolute assurance of eternal salvation. When all the false walls fall down, the Prince of Peace remains our only true security.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a direct, thought-provoking challenge right out of Micah's text. What false securities are you relying on today instead of trusting the true Prince of Peace? Are you building up your own strongholds, relying on your own strength, or are you looking to the eternal shepherd from Bethlehem? Take some time to really reflect on that question and keep digging into the incredible depths of these prophetic texts. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep learning.